When I want to learn a new technique or I'm just looking for inspiration, there are three things I do. I either go to YouTube and look for videos on it, which is a great way to learn how to do something new. I go to Pinterest to look at all the eye candy out there. But first, I usually go to my bookshelf because I probably have something on there at least to get me started thinking about things in a new way, or looking at new combinations of something, or just looking up how to do a particular stitch. So I thought I would share a few of my favorite books with regard to working with textiles and fibers and embroidery, and just tell you what it is that I love about them. So let's take a look at what I pulled from my shelf. So first I wanted to look at a couple of books that I go to for stitches. And I don't usually learn how to do a new stitch from a book. I find that difficult. But what I like in a book is to see how it's going to look on the textiles. And this is Elegant Stitches by Judith Montano. And this is Modern Hand Stitching by Ruth Chandler. And there's a couple things I like best about each of these books. So this one, you do have all the stitches. So she might talk about satin stitch, okay? And she shows you how to go through it. But then she's got some variations that you can do with it. And I like this. It kind of gets my mind thinking ways outside of the box. And so what I'll often do is I'll come in here and I'll think, okay, French knots. I know how to do a French knots. Here's some variations with it. And then I can go onto YouTube and see what else somebody else has done with it. So this is a really good book for basic stitches. This one is Basic Stitches and Beyond. She works the way my mind works with textile art. Her stitch work is absolutely exquisite. Some ribbon stitching. Oh my goodness. Knotted stitches. So the directions, I don't necessarily, like I said, I find them difficult to follow, and this is just the way my brain works, so you have to learn how your brain works. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't look at things in a video and learn them. Maybe this is something better for you. But it introduces me to stitches. Like, I hadn't heard about maidenhair stitch, so then I was able to go look online and find a few wonderful videos about it. But my favorite thing on this book is here's a piece of her embroidery. Absolutely beautiful. It's a photograph or a house back here, which I think she has sketched on here, and then she's done the stitching. And then what she does is she explains how she planned all this out. Okay, paint a picture onto cross stitch, cut a hole out of a square of crazy quilting, burn the edges, and then she tells you what stitches that she used to get that effect. And I really like that. She did this in a couple of places. There's another book of hers I bought that does more of this. I'll have to put the link down in the description below because I got it on my Kindle. But here's the picture of what she did, and here's the stitches that she used. So it's very helpful if you're trying to do some kind of a textile art piece like that. When I think about textile art, I do think about Cass Holmes. She is one of my favorite artists. I have 4 of her 5 books. Her other book is a collaboration. The name escapes me, the gal that she's collaborated with, but I don't have that one yet. These are Batsford Books. They do absolutely beautiful art books. They are not cheap, but they are beautifully presented, and I learned so much. So this is the Found Object in Textile Art. And I have taken a class from Cass through Fibre Arts Take Two. I will put a link to that down below. The class is one of those things that only opens up every so often. I can't even say once a year, but she combines paper and textiles with jelly printing or other kind of printing, and free motion stitching and hand stitching and drawing. So she takes all the different medias and pulls them together into just some beautiful artwork. This is Embroidering the Everyday. Look at these books. These are just amazing. And I'll try and put links to all the books down in the description. Stitch Stories. And so while there is a little bit of overlap in technique, I have to say that I learned something different in every one of Cass's books. And it's just a wonderful way of looking at how to live an artistic life. Textile landscapes, painting with cloth and mixed media. This is probably my favorite, I think. At least my favorite at the moment. So she makes you think. She gives you the directions on how to do some of the techniques, not step by step. It's not like project based. And I don't want project based stuff. I want things to introduce me to techniques that I hadn't maybe thought about, or how to approach something in a different way, and then let me go off and do something on my own. This book, oh, beautiful, beautiful book. This is a compendium of techniques and beauty and inspiration, a lot of ideas, instruction, and then little things to try this. Really, really love this book. And I pick it up and open it at random and just see where it takes me. I always get inspired by looking at this one. Poetic Cloth by Hannah Lamb, Creating Meaning in Textile Art. Another beautiful book from Batsford. A little bit of slow stitching. A lot about just sort of approaching textile art in a different way. She works primarily with textiles. A little bit of technique, a little bit of inspiration, and also some other artists, not just her own work, but she mentions a few other artists in there. And Cass is really good about that in her books as well, where she talks about other artists and shows you examples from their work. Shelly Rhodes, Fragmentation and Repair. This is her second book. I do not have a copy of her first book yet. It is on order and should be here soon, I hope. Shelly, a remarkable example of how to have a daily art practice. If you don't follow her on Instagram, I highly recommend it. I also happen to know that she has a class that's going to open up sometime in 2022 at Fibre Arts Take Two, so I would definitely recommend getting on their mailing list if you like her stuff. She works in both paper and fibers, textiles, so she's going to have any combination of them in here, and I just love her collage work. I love her stitch work. I love her attitude toward art. I can look at this book every day and pull out something new from it. I mean, look at the eye candy in here. This is just absolutely gorgeous. Another super inspirational person to me is Marianne Jasmick, and she is on Instagram as well, so you can look at more of her stuff there. She really pushes the boundaries in textile art. She is looking for nature. But she does not just do textiles. She might use Q-tip buds, cotton buds. She might use straw. Here's pictures of nature, and then how she has gone ahead and been able to replicate that with her artwork. This is a seed flower head that she has made completely out of fibers. Her work is absolutely exquisite. You will not fail to be inspired by looking at her. She takes discarded waste, wires and things that people are going to throw in the dumpster, and then creates these beautiful, beautiful pieces. She heats her fabric, she burns her fabric, she buries her fabric. I mean, these are vessels that she has made that looks like, lichen on the rocks. And these are all out of textiles and discarded fabrics or discarded waste. So this is just absolutely, this is eye candy for me. And she gives you she tells you how she achieves certain effects. Now, of course, you're going to have to practice a whole bunch to get to the point that you can do things that she did, but she tells you what she did. This book's been out for a while, so a lot of you have probably seen it, Slow Stitch. And this is Claire Wesley Smith. And this is a beautiful book about slow stitching and the slow stitch movement that so many of us have fallen in love with, and people have taken off with doing just some wonderful stitching projects. It does not have to be complicated. Work does not have to be complicated to be beautiful. The act of stitching can be a stitch meditation. And it's just a wonderful time to find peace and quiet among our busy days. So this is really another lovely book. If you want to get into doing a lot of strange things with your textiles, like burning them with either a heat source or maybe a wood burning thing or a curling iron. I mean, people use all kinds of crazy things. just doing a lot of odd things to your textiles or plastic that you would then use with your textile work, this is definitely a book to check out. You can get some amazing effects with doing a lot of unusual things. You can use plastics like fabric. Look at this. This is just some great, and she's got a wide variety of artists in here as well. She gives you a lot on techniques, how to do a lot of basic stuff, and then you can just take it and roll with it. Look at that. This is a book I know I've recommended in the past, Natural Processes in Textile Art. It had been out of print for a while. It is back in print now, and this is by Alice Fox, who is an artist I greatly admire. And she does give you a lot of her techniques. She does a lot of work with nature. She is inspired by the plants growing on her allotment, and so she tends to do a lot of things based on stuff that she finds there, whether it's making inks or dyes and fabric, and then what she does with the prints after that. So I've always recommended this book to people. And then if you want just pure eye candy, this is just one of several books by showcasing the art of Annemieke Mine, and I'm sorry if I mangled that name, but her work is all textiles, and just amazing to think about the work that she's doing with textile art. This is not some of it's embroidery, but a lot of it is machine quilting. I mean, look at these things. Sea urchins, the moths, the butterflies, the grasshoppers. Oh, look at that beautiful moth or butterfly. I don't know what you want to call it. So this is absolute eye candy. She talks a little bit about technique, but it's beyond my capabilities. I know that. So I look at this as absolute eye candy, and I am inspired when I look at things like this. So those are some of my favorite books about textile art and both technique and eye candy from my shelf, and I pull them off every so often just to be inspired to go in new directions. Let me know some of your favorites, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Go make art your way just because it makes you happy.